nice skin, so gorgeous. We thank the life gorgeous. Thank the life gorgeous. I love the life gorgeous. Its torso is so tight.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Life Gorgeous. This is where I share my magical life in hopes of improving your life. And from what I've been hearing, your life is improving. Thanks for all those messages, young people. My name is Craig Kilborn. I respond to Craigers, Kilby, and a lot of people are grooving on Lord Kilby. That came out a few years ago on the iconic Instagram. Bartenders like it. Some of the resorts I stay at, they say Lord Kilby. A lot of good positive energy. Today is fan questions. This is where it's just me answering your fan questions. You can DM me questions. You can leave a comment on the YouTube channel. There's also a voicemail on the YouTube channel. And you can also, on my iconic Instagram, leave a comment. That's a question. And I try to answer them eventually if I like them. It turns out that when it's just solo Kilby, people are grooving on it. They want to hear my voice. I don't know. I'm just a servant. I'm a humble servant. Humble is the key word. It's how I live my life. Get it? First question, and we're off. Kilby, longtime fan, can you name some coaches you would have liked to have played for? Any sport. Okay, cool. So I could do a Belichick joke that I'd like to play for him and teach him how to win without participating in Spygate, but I'm not going to do that joke. I'm going to name a couple coaches that's going to just be basketball. Popovich. Greg Popovich, San Antonio Spurs, love to play for him. Why? Because after the game, he's got some good red wine. On the road trips, he's got some good red wine. Love to play for Pop. John Wooden, the Wizard of Westwood, the Pyramid of Success. I would love to play for him. I think he would really like Craigers' pure jump shot. I think he'd like my jump shot, my passing, my moving without the ball. As far as the defense, I have good hands. I can make steals like Larry and Magic did and Chris Mullin. I think we'd have to play a lot of zone if I was in the game. Okay, and I'd also like to play for a guy named Coach Norman Dale. That was Gene Hackman and Hoosiers. That would have been fun because I think back in the 40s and 50s, knowing what I know now, I could kind of dominate, post people up, go between my legs, spin, a lot of deft, no-look passes. Plus, I'd probably look pretty good in those hickory uniforms. I was muscular, not muscular. I had kind of massive thighs and a big chest on a slender frame in high school. So I'd probably look decent in those hickory uniforms. That was kind of a fun question. I like that. Proud of you. Next question. Craigers, how did the Late Late Show theme song by Chris Isaak come about? Well, let's see. I don't remember all the details, but I worked for a production company, Worldwide Pants. They had a music person. They reached out to different artists for the theme song. I remember them saying B.B. King was interested. That would have been cool. And then Chris Isaak, who I liked, there was a particular song I liked that he did. So I went up to San Francisco with my producer, and we talked to Chris. I told him the song I liked, and he wrote the, Mr. Kilborn. And I thought it went pretty well. And he also did a little opening for the 5 questions. So, yeah, they just reached out to some artists, and Chris Isaak and I connected, and it's a wonderful theme song. A very nice vibe, relaxed vibe. My bachelor pad in the hills. I thought it went well. Lord Kilby, you've just returned from a lengthy visit to your home state of Minnesota. What are some of your highlights, and how many martinis did you have? Ooh. Always drinking in moderation. So I do say when I vacation, I usually will drink about every night, but not too much. Usually 2 glasses of red wine, and then sparingly spacing out the martinis, and that's exactly what I did. It was Sunday to Sunday. I had to come in Sunday before Labor Day because I had to appear at the State Fair with Dan Barrero on K-Fan. I flew in Sunday. My guy, Charlie Swanson, he's my buddy. beautiful courtside seats. Whenever I go on K-Fan, which is sponsored by Volvo, I mention Charlie's business, which is Lexus of Wayzata. They can't stop me from promoting my guy. So we hung out, Chaz and I, and Sunday, we went to St. Paul. My dad used to work in St. Paul. Charlie appreciates St. Paul. A lot of the Minneapolis snobs don't get over there. They're separated by just a few minutes, Twin Cities. We went to the lobby bar at the St. Paul Hotel. The St. Paul Hotel is a historic hotel. It's been around a long time. It's where the out-of-town NHL teams stay when they're playing the Wild in St. Paul at XL Center. I had red wine at the lobby bar. Then I went to one of my favorite spots Sunday night, Meritage, the French restaurant. Again, another glass of red wine. No vodka. Now, if I'm being really honest, and I will, on the plane ride, because I don't like flying, I have a Bloody Mary with a little vodka. So I did have a little vodka on Sunday. Does it count? I guess. Okay. So that was Sunday, Meritage. Monday was the State Fair, bloody hot, 97 degrees. Chaz and I went to the St. Paul Grill. It wasn't open on Sunday, otherwise we would have gone there. I wasn't going to have a martini. Charlie did, pressuring me. I got a little Nick and Nora glass, about 4 ounces of vodka there. And I did have a vodka. So I was going to I had 3 martinis, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's how I roll. Tuesday was very fun. I had red wine. I didn't want to get buzzed. I was with the Minnesota Timberwolves coach, Chris Finch, and some friends, Charlie and friends, and Murray's. Great sign outside. All the guys, it was 4 of us. 3 of them had steak. Krager's had salmon. Spread out the red meat. Wednesday. Lexington, the Lex. I had never been. The guys reached out who own it. It's his old supper club. Retro vintage place, beautiful space. John Krasinski, Johnny Athletic, Dan Barrero showed up, surprised us in a wonderful sweatshirt that he had worn to work. And then you had Mark Rosen, who had just gotten married, but would rather spend time with Kilby than his bride. And she understands. I had a great meal there. I can't remember what I had. I'd have to look it up. I did not have red meat, but I had something positive, and I'll have to look that up. It probably was fish. Anywho, Thursday, always giving back and plugging the wolves. I went to Falling Knife Brewery in Minneapolis in kind of an industrial area. And my guy, Dane Moore, does a great podcast for the Timberwolves, the Dane Moore podcast. I was his guest. Went pretty well. There were some fun questions. Then I had to move out of there, and I went back to the Lexington because I said I want to be a regular, and I had a nice meal there. That time I did have Whitefish Gorbachev, is what it was called. And it was almond crusted. It was very good. And they also have something called walleye cakes instead of crab cakes. Kind of fun with a dill sauce. Craigers, you eat well. I do eat well. I try to exercise. I eat well. Friday. Are you kidding me? David FEMA. He's the famous chef, legendary chef in Minneapolis. He has FEMAs. He does the Lexus Club meal for the before Timberwolves games for season ticket holders. Guy works too hard, man. So he has this new place in North Minneapolis called Mason Margot. It's an old building they renovated. It's so beautiful inside, and the food was great. I had duck confit with bone marrow, a really ridiculously decadent cauliflower cheese souffle that, I don't know. I don't think it's healthy. I don't, but I had fun with that. That time I had a martini. That was Friday. I had a martini. Saturday I rested. I just ate something low key. I actually went to a market they recommended where they had a buffet. I can like the Whole Foods kind of thing. It was a different market there, and I can do that. I can lay low because I had to rest up because I had a long day the next day, a Vikings game, and then flying back to Los Angeles. I had a little red wine on Saturday because Chaz opened up some expensive red wine. So I was hanging out with Charlie, and he was hanging out with me. His life will never be the same. Sunday, the Vikings lost. They also lost last night at Philadelphia. They are 0-2. Chances of making the playoffs are slim. They're trying to get their act together. I say try not to turn the ball over, but maybe that's being too simplistic. I don't know. So we go to the Vikings game Sunday. I fly out at 9 p.m. Game was at 12 noon. Where do we go? We go to Manny's, the legendary steakhouse. And I did have a steak. I had a bone-in filet. Great hash browns. Lobster. Oh my gosh. I don't know how I do it. I don't know how my my cardiovascular and my heart and my arteries are handling all this, but I do take my krill oil and some other things, methyl guard, and we'll get healthy this week. So that was a wonderful trip to back home. I'm proud to be from Minnesota. I had a happy childhood. I think I've told you the story before. One of my neighbors here in LA says every week you say once a week you had a happy childhood. Well, it's up to twice a week now because I had a happy childhood. And why should I be ashamed of that? Let's celebrate happiness, positive energy. Little towhead Craigers had a great time growing up in Minnesota. Dad was funny. Brother was muscular. That's all you need to know. Okay, let's move on. We have another question. Hey, Craig, thanks for the pod. What did you think of Doc Severinsen on The Tonight Show? Okay. I get some questions about The Tonight Show. I was a big Johnny Carson fan. He was my favorite, followed by Letterman. And for the record, for pure comedy, the funniest guy in the world to me is Conan O'Brien. Johnny Carson was my favorite. Sophisticated, smooth, cool. And I liked Doc Severinsen. He was a very talented trumpet player. He obviously couldn't scream quite like the Maynard Fergusons, but nobody could. I like trumpet players. I like Arturo Sandoval. I obviously like Chet Baker. But Doc Severinsen also had the interesting, colorful, flamboyant lining inside of his jackets, and he'd flash that to Johnny. And I actually have custom-made blazers, sport coats that have festive lining. So I was a Doc Severinsen fan. I remember Johnny said at the end when he was retiring, he goes, "Oh, you guys, you think they're not hip? These guys are still hip." Talking about Doc Severinsen and the band, and he was absolutely right. In our society, the young people decide young people are hip, and they don't know that some of these veterans are infinitely cooler than they are. But that's part of the problem with the young people. Next question. Lord, as opposed to Lord Kilby. Lord, thoughts on the season-ending injury to Aaron Rodgers? Devastating, very unfortunate, a little stunning. This is where I'm a good person. I'm a football fan, and even though I'm a Vikings fan, I always liked Brett Favre. Aaron Rodgers, to me, I love watching him release the football, throw the football, flick his wrist. There's nobody more entertaining. I was a big Dan Marino fan. I like the way he threw the football. So I am bothered that he is hurt. I'm pulling for him to recover, come back next year at age 40. It's an Achilles tear, which is not easy. You're never really the same after that. We'll see how that goes. But Aaron Rodgers, to me, I can say, is probably the most entertaining quarterback of all time for me, the way he throws the football. I'm also a Joe Montana fan. I liked Peyton Manning. He would dissect the defense. I like that. So it's a bummer. I want to say something else. There are a couple people that were celebrating or happy that he hurt himself, which is evil, absolutely evil. There's this thing in life called schadenfreude. I don't participate in it. You shouldn't either. It's taking pleasure in the misfortune of others. I worked with some bitter people in late night. They participate in schadenfreude, and I just don't relate to it. It's not a part of the life gorgeous. I always tell the young people, breathe out the bitterness, okay? Don't build your worldview on bitterness. You want people to compete with talent. You can root against Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady, as long as it's talent versus talent. The other team defeats him, not with an injury like that. That's awful. Let's see what we have. Next question. Oh, this was a voicemail from a lady, and she had some emotion in her voice. Mr. Kilborn, I recently lost my cat, and it really hurts. I'm not sure how to stay positive. Can you help? Well, this is what I say. Obviously in life there's pain. Be grateful for the time spent with a loved one or a pet. I had a golden retriever, one golden retriever. I'm loyal to him. I haven't had a second dog. I had him as a kid, right in kindergarten, and then we put him down when I was in high school. He lived a long life, captain, golden retriever. Yeah, he shed a little too much. Okay. Wasn't that well trained. My job was to walk him, by the way. Yeah. Love that dog. But you got to be grateful. My parents, I was really close to them and you knew it was eventually going to happen. And they lived to be 88 and 87, but it hit me hard. I was like, oh my gosh, they were so supportive of me, but you just have to be grateful. And I actually lost a friend recently prematurely. And you just have to be grateful for the time spent with your friend and with your pet cat. I hope these words are helping. I don't know if they are, but you can always get another cat, and a great memory of that the cat that sadly passed away. I hope that helped. I'm trying to help. Let's see. Oh, Craigers, love you and the Life Gorgeous podcast. What did you think of the Netflix series Quarterback? Assuming you watched it. I did, but I just fast forwarded to the parts about Kirk Cousins, the Vikings quarterback. I sometimes I don't really watch sports movies. There's too many documentaries. Because I watch so much live sports, I probably don't participate in viewing all this other documentaries and et cetera. But I did want to see this, and I saw Kirk, and everyone likes him. He takes a lot of hits. Everyone likes him from that series. One of the things that jumped out to me was we had a devastating home loss, the Vikings last year, to the Dallas Cowboys. It was something like 40-3 or 40-0, or I don't know what it was. It was on a Sunday, and it was Thanksgiving week, and we had to play at home against the Patriots on Thursday. Kirk had an obligation that week. He had to go to an event and they were handing out Thanksgiving dinners to the less fortunate. And his job was the green beans. So this guy gets spanked on Sunday, a huge game on Thursday, and he's in the moment present, being very earnest. Would you like green beans? Hi, I'm Kirk. Would you like green beans? And he'd then dish out the green beans to all the people there. But I just loved how earnest he was and authentic, and he was taking it seriously. He was being pleasant. Would you like green beans? Man, I would say, yeah, I don't like green beans. I'll take them, Kirk. I like your attitude, buddy. That's our quarterback. So I enjoyed the series. The Vikes, of course, are 0-2, and we'll see what happens. Chargers coming to town. I think this is the last one. Kilby, I always like to know, what have you been watching lately? I always find it entertaining, even when you are watching a repeat or rewatching. Well, there are a number, I think they're all, I've been rewatching things. So I've seen the movie Taken with Liam Neeson, and it's like a 7.8 rating, but then Taken 2 and Taken 3 are down at like 6.2 and 6, which are, for me, astronomically low. But I decided to watch them. And I actually enjoyed them because I don't know if they should have been maybe about a 6.4 or 6.5 on IMDb rating. But so I watched Taken 1, 2, and 3. Here's one. I rewatched The Offer again about a week ago. Third time I've seen it. This is the making of The Godfather with the guy, the actor Good. I can't remember his first name. Who nails Robert Evans. Watch The Offer now for the third time. Enjoyed it even more the third time. Highly recommended. I rewatched Hoosiers. That's why I mentioned Gene Hackman. I love Hoosiers. I love when they go into the big arena for the state tournament and they measure the rim 10 feet, same as back in Hickory. I like that. Craigers likes that. And then I rewatched The Firstborn, The Bourne Identity. Those are very entertaining. You have to realize that I'm a big Bond fan from my childhood. Sean Connery. Love Daniel Craig as Bond. Those are my favorites. I do enjoy the Mission Impossibles. And I'm late to the Bourne game, but I've watched them. There's obviously no humor in Bourne. It's very intense. There's a little humor in both Mission Impossible and James Bond. But I rewatched The Bourne Identity, the first one, 2002, and that was very good. I do like Brian Cox a lot. I like his delivery. And then finally, I sometimes will fall asleep to classic movies, and this is called Splendor in the Grass on Turner Classic. I fell asleep. This was Natalie Wood, I believe the screen debut for Warren Beatty, and I've seen it before. Good movie, interesting. Didn't last long. Fell asleep. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that is our show for today. Some of my friends say, I wish it was longer than 20 minutes, Greg. Well, this is what we do. We give you a little jolt of positive energy and excitement and entertainment. The agile mind of Kilby helping you out. We learned something. We learned a word today, schadenfreude. Stay away from it, young people. Be positive. Compete with others with talent. That's what I say. Anywho, that's our show. We'll see you next time. And remember, we'll see you next time. And remember, young people, I'm proud of you.